Well, today is September 12th, 2018, and I just got done swapping out the front tire on my 2014 Chieftain with one that I had sitting in a box that I got in 2014 and never used. Yeah, I know the naysayers were going to say don't use the tire, but it's brand new Dunlop sitting on a brand new rim. Probably got 5 miles on it. It was taken off when a guy customized a bike, and so I bought some parts. But anyway, I just got done changing the front tire. So what I did was I think it was a Harbor Freight jack to begin with. Like a lot of people, I've had to use for vintage bikes, whether it's a Harley or Indian or Honda, for doing various things, working on inside, outside the house, and so on. But anyway, I realized that the spots on the Chieftain are different than what is on the Harley or the vintage Indians. But there's no reason why this jack wouldn't work, as it's done in other cases. And I've seen some adapters that are made anywhere from $55 on up for this jack. Well, since I got leftover plywood, this is what I've done. I don't know if you can see the dimensions on it or not. A little crude, but took me about 45 minutes to make. Piece of 3/4 inch plywood. And if you can zoom in on this and get a basic idea, you can modify it to suit yourself. A little crude. But on the end are 2x4 pieces of 1/4 inch plywood that I had ripped and I had a strip. This is just a 1x, actually a 1.5 or 2x 3/4 inch thick board that I cut to 4-inch lengths. And so I put it in to accommodate the front part of the frame, not the motor casing. I see a lot of people that are using the motor casings to rest the jack pads on, and I just don't feel comfortable with that. Well, Indian, as anybody knows, has got two frame members. One is this one right here, and the one on the other side, they're in two different positions. So you'll see this pad is slightly forward from the 22-inch edge, 22-inch overall length of this board. So I put it, and I hung them off 1/4 of an inch. But this pad is just a little bit, and so it's sort of centered in about here when it rests underneath the machine. This one I put flush to the end because it does sit out a little bit further to the rear of the bike than the right side of the bike. So this one's flush, still hangs off 1/4 of an inch. This one does too, which makes this overall width of this piece of wood about 13.5 inches. This board is 13 by 22, cut on this case to adapt for where it's cut out for the kickstand mount and also part of the front part of the frame. This is for one of the brass plugs that sticks down about 1/4 of an inch, and this is for the sending unit, or one of those sending units that's in the back. It does clear it without these pads on here. I could have just put this directly underneath the motor. It would have lifted it just fine, but like I said, I feel better being on the frame here, there, and up there. And you'll see that 1 inch in. It was just my choice to do this, you don't have to. But I took a round bastard file and I ground out a smaller surface so that it will lock into the frame. Now on the back side of this, so it doesn't roll off of the jack's rubber mounts, I actually put a stopper on the underside of some old trim that I had so that this sits on top of the jack just fine, as such, locks it into place. And by putting this up underneath the motorcycle, and if I can line this properly here, and we will see in a little bit, and by jacking up on this, I'll have to move it forward just a hair, so that the front, these blocks, are underneath the frame a little bit better. By jacking this up, we're sliding it in a little bit so that it is up underneath that frame member. You'll see that in jacking this up, the bike up, it does get this up off the ground the point where the lock down here will engage, but on both the right side and the left side of the bike, let's see this pad, it's hitting on the frame member underneath this cover, so that I was able to, without any problems, jack it up a little bit higher, lock it into place, and from side to side where I've got the bike, where I was working on it, I have posts actually in the air. And as an added feature, I secured tie-down straps to the crash bars. You might not have that option. You can certainly anchor it to your jack. But instead of going out and buying a part, I was able to take a piece of plywood and adequately modify the top of the jack as I've done for the Harley and everything else, instead of buying some fancy schmancy piece. Just my tip for the day.